Welcome to episode 32 of Full Court Magic. I am Don Strouble, your host of Full Court Magic and one of the Orlando Magic beat writers. And with me, as you know him, the other Orlando Magic beat writer who's been doing great work for us, Andrew Cherico, joins me again. My friend, it's been too long, but we finally got some tangible things to talk about as the NBA schedule dropped today. This is an exciting time for Magic fans because not only did the schedule drop today, but tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern time, they can go and make single game purchases on tickets. So people can start planning what their fall and winter and next spring is going to look like now that this schedule is out. I know that we had multiple thoughts and multiple things that we wanted to talk about, but just give me, your first reaction and impression to what you saw when you were skimming over this 82 game slate.
Absolutely, Don. Well, first of all, thank you for having me back on the show. You're killing it with the Full Court Magic podcast. It's always great to come in and watch for your latest thoughts. You're around the team more than anybody I know, so you're definitely one
Appreciate
to
it,
keep
man.
up with. And Don, it's an exciting day. It's a very exciting day. Schedule release days. It's a day where people start making their predictions, where the people start making they're going to go on a stretch here, they're going to go on a stretch there, where people start making their claim for the NBA championship. While I won't go too deep into that, Dom, one thing that I did realize, and just one of the few quick notes that I skimmed over during the schedule, was that the Magic have 8 national games this season. 8 national games. I feel like it's not too much, not too little. There's teams with fewer, but still not really what you would expect for the Magic. Having two stars in Paulo Banchero, Franz Wagner. Just last season, the Magic were top three predicted to go maybe top three seed in the Eastern Conference. They had a few games, a few more national games. This year, I feel like the expectations are a little more bricked, like in terms of there's a bit of a wall to see the Magic on a national scale. What I do like about the Magic is that maybe they are going to be better with maybe less national spotlight on them. And like I said, I feel like it's fair for what the Magic performed last season. Eighth seed took the number one seed to 7 games. We're up 3-1. But yeah, I think it's unfortunate that the Magic don't have more, but it's fair for how they performed last year.
Yeah, I think you make some good points. I think that team still has a lot to prove, and generally, the more that you prove yourself, the better off you'll be in the eyes of the schedule makers and how your national TV coverage falls into play. Yeah, you bring up 8 games. From what I can see here, the first nationally televised game is not until Monday, November 16th at Boston. That'll be televised on Peacock. And then you go until December, where they will play at home against Philadelphia. That's part of a home and away against Philadelphia. They start there on the 12th of December before coming home, and the game at home will be on Peacock as well. And then there's another drought, and then they get some more. And yeah, I'm with you. I think that it's not too bad of a slate. I think that this is decent coverage for this team. Could they have gotten more in an 82 game season? Yes. But again, it's about proving themselves because one thing that the Magic have going up against them is for, all intents and purposes, they are a small market team, right?
Yeah,
Like this isn't a Los Angeles, a New York, a Boston. Like they fall into that range more of like Charlotte, Cleveland, and unfortunately, I'm sure, we check the Heat schedule. They're going to have a lot more, especially after the acquisition of Giannis. And so,
you should see Philadelphia's.
yeah, I can imagine so. Yeah, I can imagine so. And so, I think that um, this is just kind of they got to take what they're being given, and prove themselves. And if the Magic have a strong year and we really see the ascension of their stars, I imagine that the 27-28 season, could produce more national coverage for them. But for now, I mean, this is where we're at. So, uh, we'll see how they do, and we'll see if they win on those stages and if they can show that they're worthy of more games. Another thing we wanted to talk about is the 14 back-to-backs, Andrew. That's quite a lot. It encompasses 28 days where you have back-to-back games, and we know for a team like the Magic, that can be quite a challenge when health has not been on their side. What is your reaction to such uh, I would say for this team, kind of brutal, playing out here of the schedule in terms of all these back to backs?
Yeah, I mean, Don, you bring up the Magic and health in the same sentence. It's not something that you want. It doesn't usually come out with a good result, Don. To be honest with you, this is a team that we can quite frankly we can say has been cursed these past few seasons with injury, plagued with injury. Seems like every time the Magic are ready to get it together, and somebody goes down, whether it's a Jalen Suggs, whether it's a Franz Wagner, or even Paulo Banchero. What I do think is important is that this is kind of a test, the Magic didn't make that many moves this offseason, banking on their core of Desmond Bain and the three others that I mentioned. That is the core. That is who they believe can lead them to the promised land. That is a testament to Jeff Weltman, President of Basketball Operations, Jeff Weltman, saying even though this team has experienced injuries, he still believes that this is the core that can get it done. If he felt like the Magic needed to make other moves in the offseason, he would have, because we know, Don, more than anything, he said, oh, they could have beat the Pistons if Franz Wagner didn't go down. Or a couple of years ago, they could have went so much further if all of them were healthy going into the playoffs. It's the nature of NBA. Injuries happen, and you can't blame the injury game every time. 14 back-to-backs, it's rough, but the Magic need to succeed. There's no excuses in this time period, Don. Sure, you can rest Franz, you can rest Jalen here and there, you can load management, whatever you want to call it. But they need to be successful this regular season, and a big part of that success is playing extremely well, winning. I would say around 80% of your back-to-backs.
Yeah, I mean, you make good points there, and I think that I have a twofold response to this. The first being that, to your point, I mean, yeah, there is no excuses that can be made. And the players and coaching staff, the whole organization, I imagine top to bottom would say the same thing. I think that's why it's a good thing that Franz is not playing in Germany this summer. He really needed a full summer to rehab everything he went through last season. And so it shows his commitment to being available for this Magic group. And then the other part of it is, the Magic are handicapped by the first apron. I mean, that's just the reality of their situation. This is an expensive roster, and that's part of why this roster needs to work, especially under Sean Sweeney. And they're going to have several challenges along the way through this 82 game season coming up uh, that will really be a litmus test to show whether or not he's the guy and if the key players on this roster are the ones that can lead this group to where they want to go and this organization to where they want to go. Um, I mean, they made moves on the margins, right? And the thing about Jeff Weltman, and I've talked about it before, it's like you said, like injuries are no excuse. And I mean, he really leans on that excuse. And I feel like excuse making is the antithesis to progress. And I fear that, um, as I've said before, the Desmond Bain move was the biggest move he's made and that we might ever see made from Jeff Weltman. He's never been a big game hunter, and perhaps that's not what the Magic need. I mean, but the point being is that there are no excuses. There is heightened expectations. Jamal Mosley's gone now. You have a new voice. And we need to see the best version of those four guys in Paolo, Franz, Jalen, and Desmond really elevate this group. Um, and so we'll see. And back to backs are going to be a test. It's really going to show, hey, what are we made of when things get hard, when we're tired? when we need to win a game because who knows? Some of these could come if they're on a losing streak and they need to get back on track. I mean, that's the beauty of the NBA. It's like baseball. You got another game tomorrow, but it doesn't mean it's going to be easy. So we'll see how they handle it.
And
Uh,
one more thing I want to add on to that
sure.
point, Don, is the depth moves that the Magic made. Like you mentioned, they made moves on the margin. They made very what felt like lateral movement, with Nikola Vucevic being the star, quote unquote, star acquisition of the offseason for them, the reunion, I should say. Don, you look at what this team accomplished during free agency. You bring back two guys in Jonathan Isaac, Javon Carter. I mean, Carter was a solid contributor last year. Jonathan Isaac hasn't really been able to reach the level that many fans and media has hoped he has been able to the past couple of seasons. During these back to backs, when a guy does need a rest or a guy is going through injury, is the depth good enough on this team to carry them through that drought? We know we got Anthony Black, Tristan Da Silva, players of that caliber. But still, is it good enough with the two other guys? Could the Magic have gotten maybe another 3-and-D wing? Could they have gotten another guard, more of a scoring first guard, a playmaking guard? I don't know, Don. I felt like a lot of the moves were really lateral this offseason, and the Magic, like you mentioned, are really banking on this core to lead them to the promised land.
Yeah, that's just kind of how they operate, especially in the situation they find themselves in now. And that's, you and I have spent a bulk of this off season talking about is this group good enough? Well, now we have on paper the tests that they will face. I mean, that's the great part about schedule release is now it's speculation, but it has more concrete evidence to back it because we can now look at these teams that they have to play and kind of get an understanding of how they will possibly fare against them with who they have in house. Because, yeah, free agency's over. There's no big seismic move coming. Um, that this is the group that they got. And, we'll see what they can do with it once again. But another thing that we wanted to talk about was the longest homestand and the longest road trip. So starting with the homestand from February 25th to March 9th, it's a span of 13 days. They will have a 6-game homestand. I think that will be a good kind of if they need it reset period or break for this group because you're talking like that's kind of around all-star break, so it's like they'll have the break and then they'll have a long stretch at home. How do you think that at that point in the season and that juncture, how do you think that will benefit this team?
Well, yeah, absolutely, Don. I mean, looking at the schedule, we were speaking about it a little bit before. January is the Magic's gauntlet. If they can survive January with a pretty good record, they'll be looking good, hopefully, going into the playoffs. Don, when I look at the 6-game homestand, when you think about the Magic really taking up their success this year, it matters when you play at home court, having that home court advantage. You need to take advantage of your home games, Don. There's no other way around it. You look at 6 games, you have to think the Magic, bare minimum, should win 4, but the expectation should be winning 6 out of those 6. I'd be happy with them winning 5 out of those 6 home games. But Don, it'll be a tough challenge. I know you probably have the schedule pulled up. If you can see what teams they got going on in that schedule. It'll be. I know the Magic could have a bit of a challenge. Where there's been injuries, and we've seen the Magic go through streaks of 7 in a row wins, then 7 losses in a row, and being very volatile in terms of their scheduling. But no matter the teams that they are playing, taking advantage at home court is a must do.
Um, it's a good thing you bring that up because I do have the schedule right here. So, yeah, just to confirm, the All Star break is February 19th through the 24th, and then they go right into that homestand. So, that's a good time. I mean, we would like to think that Paolo is going to be an all star again this year, that he's going to get back to that form and then some. Possibly Franz. I mean, we'd love to see all 4 of their core guys, be on that all-star team, but for the rest of them, and for whoever doesn't make it, that's time to sleep in your own bed. That's time to, really work on your body and get healthy again. But to your other point, yeah, I mean it's gonna be a bit of an arduous slate of games there. So uh, to start it off, they have the Charlotte Hornets. Charlotte's going to be a good team this year. I know they moved off LaMelo Ball, but getting back Nas Reed and banking on the development of Brandon Miller and Con Knipple, I think that is going to be beneficial for them. And then you got the Hawks. The Magic were swept by the Hawks last year in the regular season. They're another good team because not only do you have, like a Jalen Johnson, Nikhil Alexander Walker, Dyson Daniels, they also added guys like Lou Dort and Aaron Wiggins from the former champion Thunder, just defensive stalwarts that are going to make life difficult for any team they play, especially a team that struggled on the offensive end like the Magic. Then you have the Lakers, the Pacers, the Jazz, and the Suns. And I'm not even sure you get a break with the Jazz because, I mean, they're a team that, yeah, they've been in this kind of perpetual rebuild since, trading Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, but they're getting better. Like, there's not really any easy games here, Drew, despite being at home. And so, like you said, surviving January, which has 17 games, there's more games in that month than any other, and then trying to get through February and into March before that road trip. I mean, the whole back half of the season is going to be pretty tough, no matter how you spin it.
Don, I got to tell you though, looking at these 6 teams here on the schedule, if the Magic have the internal expectation and the standards that they can make a deep run into the playoffs, we're talking about what Paulo Banchero said, the standard that Sean Sweeney wants to have, the standard of Jeff Weltman. These are 6 teams that they need to beat in the regular season, and they all have an opportunity to here. Sure, Dallas, they're a rebuilding, growing team. Cooper Flag, bring in Charlotte. If the Magic want to be a top 3 seed in the Eastern Conference, they need to beat the teams that they're being bunched in with right now. I would put Magic right now on the same tier as Charlotte. Magic on the same tier as a Atlanta team that is getting really scary. I would have them in that same atmosphere, in that same tier. This is a Magic team that they want to be up with the Philadelphia 76ers and the New York Knicks of the Eastern Conference. You got to beat the teams in the tier below to prove that you are better than those teams. So yeah, tough stretch, but looking at these teams, it isn't like they're going against the defending champs, Don. These are teams that they need to beat.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've kind of written about it extensively since the height of free agency is passed last month. Is that the Southeast Division? It's going to be hard. Like there's no layups anymore because even if a team like Washington, who has been the bottom feeder of the league for years now, uh, can you imagine if Trey Young and Anthony Davis stay healthy with that young group? That could get dangerous. Atlanta was the only team to push around the Knicks in the playoffs. The only one, and that was in the post Trey Young era. They bring back CJ McCollum. They have those other guys I mentioned. You look at Miami with Giannis and Bobby Portis, those two big additions. Now, I think that team is very thin in depth and they are going to be terrible at spacing. However, if you get them on a night where they're clicking, that is a really hard team to beat. And then you look at the Hornets like we talked about. So just surviving your division this season is going to be a task, let alone everything else that you got to go through. And yeah, that road trip, at Miami, at Atlanta, at Chicago, at Milwaukee, at Boston, following that homestand we were talking about, that's not easy, and 2 of those games are nationally televised. You got Miami on ESPN and then Atlanta on Prime Video. So, you have those expectations as well that, we circle back to the beginning of the episode here. Can you prove that you can win on national TV, and then we'll give you more games? So,
Yeah,
it's not gonna be easy, Drew. I mean, it's not. You look at the NBA Cup as well, like, a lot of things are going to have to swing the Magic's way because, as you and I have talked about before, this is not the same Eastern Conference. It isn't, you know, and
yeah.
anyone who's kept up with our articles on Roundtable or kept up with these episodes would know how much we're pounding the table over how difficult it's going to be.
Oh, absolutely, Don. And I'm looking at this road trip right now. That's why I said the Magic need to take advantage of that homestand because the homestand. I'm looking at this road trip. There's a realistic possibility where stuff isn't going right for the Magic this late in the season. They can lose all 5 of these games in a row. Chicago should be the one that's a give me, but you've seen the Magic underperform against lower tier teams. You see them overcompensate against better teams. You don't know what Magic team you're going to get. And maybe that's the standard that head coach Sean Sweeney wants to establish. Be yourself every night. Meet an expectation that the Magic are going to play like they should, like a championship team, every single time they step on that court. Don. So looking at these teams, it's really a toss up. This is late in the season. That homestand, I mean, that road trip is late in the season. So we'll really be able to see that road trip could have playoff seeding complications, lots of it, especially with Miami in there. I'm really curious to see how that's going to work out with Miami, Atlanta, and Boston, Don. So just 3 games from that road trip alone that could be real difficult challenges for the Magic.
Yeah, yeah, and luckily for them, that's a little ways off in the future, so they have time to get acclimated to their new coach. They have time to gel as a team. Drew, I wanted to ask you while we're on the air, before we get down to our last couple topics here, what do you think about their cup opponents? I mean, that schedule released yesterday. The Magic are in Group A, so they will face the Toronto Raptors, the Milwaukee Bucks, the Brooklyn Nets, and then finish with a rematch against the Detroit Pistons in as high a leverage situation you can be in November. I mean, we're talking about the team that came back from 3-1 down against the Magic to continue their drought, um, of not winning a playoff series. I mean, the Magic haven't won a series since 2010. That is a long time.
Yes, it is.
And so, what do you think about their opponents? And, the Magic went 4-0 in group play last year, went to the semifinals. Do you think they can have similar success?
Don, I just have to say this outright. This is a chance for the Orlando Magic to prove if they're serious going into next season. This will be are you a man or are you a mouse moment for the Magic. They should be able to beat every other team in that group except have a competition for the Detroit Pistons. Are the Magic going to be able to get the revenge, be able to show that they were a team that were supposed to beat the Pistons had they stayed healthy? Don, since 2010, I was 7 years old in 2010. That's scary to think about. You know what I mean? This is this is
You're making
something
me
that
feel old, Drew.
this is something that the Magic should take. They should have a heated sense right now. They should be mad at the NBA. They should be mad at themselves. They should come into this season with some piss and vinegar, show that they have something to prove. Because if we know more than anything, Paulo Banchero wants to get on the hardwood. Franz Wagner has a lot to prove. This is a Magic team that has almost everything to prove, but nothing to lose. Because we saw the lowest of their lows last season, blowing that 3-1 lead. Now, can the Magic finally be the team that makes the run? The Knicks, they were projected to be among the top tier teams in the league last year, but they got in the playoffs and they got hot at that right time. There's nothing telling me that the Magic can't be that team except for them themselves.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. In the Knicks, they made a defensive adjustment under Mike Brown that really helped them catch fire because they were in trouble against the Hawks. So, the Magic are also capable of finding the right formula that works for them. And the good news is it's an 82 game season. They have time. When we watch football and stuff, we're going to see, like, you and I are both involved with UCF. If UCF gets off to a bad start, the whole thing can come crashing down because you don't have the same runway. But in basketball, that is the one thing that's working on the Magic side, despite some pretty tough opponents. But the thing about the cup is that you got to win or you're out. You basically have to play perfectly. It's almost like bowl season in college football. Like you can't mess up in the playoff, or else you're not going to win a natty. And so I'm with you. I think that the Raptors are interesting. We will see what's going on with this Kawhi Leonard trade and this cap circumvention, controversy that's going on right now.
Insanity.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I think that if the Raptors get him, and I wrote about this yesterday, that whether or not he plays, those implications are big, and that will really kind of define the kind of chances the Magic have because a Kawhi Leonard team with like Scotty Barnes and RJ Barrett, a healthy Emmanuel quickly, guys of that nature, like that's a tough team to beat. The Bucks, I think that the Magic should roll not only because they're in this like franchise altering position right now after moving off Giannis, but the Magic, I mean, that's basically the Heat. Like all they gave up for him, like they're familiar with all those guys. The Nets, I don't know what's going to happen there. I do think that's going to be a fun game, though, if the Wagner brothers are healthy, because after they've been teammates for so long, if Mo can get back to getting some playing time on that Nets roster, him and Franz going at it is going to be cool. But we'll see, man. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. We've never seen a Cup dynasty yet. Like it hasn't been around long enough, but I believe every year it's been a different team that's won it. Just like, the last 8 years, we've had a different NBA champion every time. So I think it'll be a fun little in season test, especially for this young Magic group to show us what they're made of early in high leverage moments. But obviously, nothing compares to April, May, and June.
Yeah, it'll be a certainly a challenge. Like
Yep.
you mentioned, the Raptors team is going to be a good team. I think Kawhi Leonard are not a good team, but like I said, if the Magic want to prove that they can be among the top tier in the Eastern Conference, those are teams they're going to roll over.
Yeah, for sure. Most definitely. All right. So that kind of brings us to our final topic here, record predictions. Obviously, last season, the Magic had an underwhelming year given the hopes and expectations that were placed upon them and that they created for themselves in the offseason. They went 45-37, finished as the eighth seed in the East. Drew, you first. What is the Magic's record at the
All right,
end of this upcoming season?
let's do this. I'm gonna go. I do think this team can be better under Sean Sweeney. I think you're going to see, even if it's not dramatic playoff improvement, Don, I do think you're going to see a bit more regular season consistency. I think that's going to pay dividends. I'm not going to say too dramatic of an improvement. I do think this is a very similar Magic team from last year. And you have a group of superstars. It shouldn't matter what coach is the one that's leading them. They should have their system. They should have their talent. But Don, I think I'll go 4 wins better from last year. Let's go 49, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I'm terrible at math, Don. That's a 49-33. If that sounds right, let me know.
Yeah, I was just looking for my calculator too to make sure I didn't mess up my prediction. So I'm with you.
Uh, so
I'm
that's
gonna
what I got.
place. Nah, you're good, man. Yeah, I'm actually gonna flip the numbers around here. I think that they are only going to be 2 games better. I think that they will go 47-35 this season. I think that there's so many things that have to go right for this group. And at some point they're going to face bumps in the road under their new coach. As skilled as Sean Sweeney is and the experience he has accrued as an assistant, he is a rookie in his role and he is trying to lead a young team. And like we talked about, this is a better Eastern Conference. And there's a lot of challenges here just within their own division. And in that Southeast division, they are going to be facing those opponents the most. And there's no team that's going to roll over, not like before. But I do think that a motivated Paulo Banchero, a new voice in the locker room, and hopefully some continued continuity, you know, among this group can help them at least get a couple more wins. And really, what I'm looking for, Drew, is can they stay out of the play in tournament? Can they get one of those 1 through 6 seeds and be a lock for the playoffs instead of battling for their playoff lives and not getting a rest before the most physical part of the year in the NBA?
Yeah, Don, when I mentioned the 49-33, I think that's good enough to at least be sixth in the Eastern Conference. And I feel like that's where around the match we're gonna fall. They're gonna fall in that 5 to 6 range. And Don, to me, this season what matters more than anything for the Magic, while I say health is important, It's really about the offensive consistency. We know that this team can perform on defense. They might not be the same defensive monster they were just 2, 3 years ago, finishing top three in the league. But if this Magic team can remain in that top seven, top eight defensive range while improving on offense, we know that Sean Sweeney is going to bring that defensive consistency, non defensive mastermind, I should point out, from Sean Sweeney. But what I do think is the offensive consistency. How is Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner going to work? I've always said if this Magic team is going to win, it's not going to be because Paulo Banchero is a true alpha and Franz Wagner is behind him. No, it's going to be like the Boston Celtics did when they won their championship. Jason Tatum won A, Jalen Brown won B. The Magic need to have that kind of concept going. And if there's anything that I've heard, is that both Wagner and Banchero wants to attack and they want to score as much as they can this upcoming year. So it'll really be up to them as well as the health.
Yeah, they're definitely going to need it from those two guys. It's going to be a fun season, Drew. I'm looking forward to it. And I think that uh, we are in for some good basketball, no matter how this plays out, and we will see what this team is made of. I love the way you put it. Are you a man or are you a mouse? Because no one is going to have mercy on this group, and the whole feel good story about the Magic is over. They have been to the playoffs 3 straight times. It is time to take another step. All right, folks, thank you so much for joining us. As a little side note, the other day was my 30th birthday. So if you want to give me a belated present, run up that subscriber count, run up that member count on the Orlando Magic Roundtable. You can find the link for our roundtable page in the description. Thank you so much again for getting us to 50 plus subscribers. I saw we were at 52. It's slow incremental growth, but as always, love being on the air, love talking about this team, and thank you so much for the attention that you've given us. I'm Don Strouble. This is Andrew Cherico, and this has been Full Court Magic. We'll see you next time.